It is better to be alone than to be around low quality people. What does that what does that even mean, right? You're on this video, you're like, what? This is something crazy, that most people, they might in their head think like, okay, it makes sense, but they don't do it themselves, right? Me personally, I came to this realization recently this year. I had a lot of people around me, right? Like different friends. And I realized that a lot of the times you are surrounding yourself around people, and you may not even realize this because you just don't want to be alone. It's just like you just want to have people to, go out with, do activities with, whatever. And that is the worst thing, okay? If you are in a position right now where you have people around you that you always know deep down if a person is low quality or not. You know it every single time. But the first part of this that I want to get into is that, number one, I think that especially in this recent generation, people have they don't credit being alone as much as they should, right? Like, I think that most, like, of your good thoughts, most of whenever you have an idea, whenever something good usually comes into your head, it's when you're alone, right? It's because no one's stealing your thoughts. And to make great things, just in general, to be the type of person that creates and puts value into this life, a lot of that value, usually to some extent, has to come out of you, right? And the thoughts from other people that come into your head, they're very, very, you have to be very careful with the people that are genuinely around you every single day, because these people are technically stealing your thoughts, right? Whenever they tell you an opinion, that opinion stays into your head, and that might affect what you're going to do in 2 weeks from now, right? And the number one thing is you have to, and I'm going to go over what I mean by this. You have to start spending more time alone. Because also, the main reason that I'm saying this is because when you are alone, you go towards your self-development. You go towards self-improvement. Whenever you're alone for a long period of time, usually, especially if you're not on your phone, you start thinking a lot more. And that frequency that you're in, that is the frequency for greatness, in my opinion. And the sooner, and I promise you this, the sooner that you can abandon these people in your life, you'll become a way better person. And people, like I said, they take energy away from you. And that fear, like I said, me personally, I had this fear as well, that I really, really did not want to be alone. And not in necessarily in a way that I'm like lonely, but it was just, it's like, you want to have fun, right? And I understand that you want to like have people around you to go, like I said, do activities with. You want people to, like I said, do fun things with. You don't want to be alone in that sense, right? And even if someone, you have that feeling of like, you just would rather be with them than be alone. And that's the point I'm trying to get at, is that I promise you, and I'm saying this with 110% certainty, whatever you're trying to go towards, you need to come with the mindset of that it is better to be alone than to be around low value people. Meaning that I would rather be alone by myself than hang around these low valuable people. Because when you are around these low value people, number one, they take away your thoughts. And this is the thing. When you are around these low valuable people, me personally as well, once you start getting into self-development and start aligning yourself more, when you do hang around these low valuable people, bro, you have to like it takes like 3 days until you get back into the zone. And I know that this is the thing. When you're around low valuable people and around people that I don't want to say low valuable, but just people that you shouldn't be around, when after you hang out, when you put your head on that pillow and you go to sleep, you feel deep down like you wasted your time, like you didn't get enough done. But when you're around high valuable people, around people that are around your same energy, going towards the same thing that you're doing, what happens is that does not happen. You feel like you gain something out of going out with these people. You feel like, if I didn't have this conversation, my life would have been worse. But when you're around these people every single time, it's like, literally, it's if anything, it's not even doing you nothing, it's also doing you worse, because every single time, like I said, even this, and this is the worst, and I think real people can admit this, if you're truly, once you start going into self-improvement, when you are present with these people, you're still in your head, you're like, bro, I should have been doing something else right now, while you're with them. Not a lot of people will admit that, but that's also when you know, if that's happened to you, that's also when you know that you're cooked, bro. Like, you're actually cooked. And the number one thing you need to do is the most important thing, right? And then so now you come to the question, you're like, Barsam, okay, well then how do I attract new people? How do I find? The first thing is that everything has to happen internally before it happens outside. You can't hang around these people and then expect to have the people that you want to be around your life first. Because what I mean by that is that every time you hang out with these type of people that you know are not low energy, low frequency, like I said, your frequency to some extent changes. And I'm not going to go into the average 5 people you hang around with, you become the 6, because that's true 110%, but I don't want to say stuff that you've already heard before. What I'm going to go into is more deeper. The reason why that is because when you're around 5 people, their frequency becomes your frequency. You become whatever level that they're on. If they are just slacking and they're doing whatever, you're going to go down to that level too. If your friends are waking up at 5 a.m. every single day doing, going to the gym, sparring, doesn't matter if it's in 1 month, 2 years, or 2 days, eventually you're going to get onto that same frequency and start doing the same thing. Or you're going to leave them. But either way. And if you leave them, then you're a coward. But for you need to first get into a frequency to attract those people. And then once you are in that frequency, and I promise you this, and I'm saying this with the bottom of my heart, people will come to you. When I'm out with one of my friends, and I swear to God, when I'm out with one of my friends and we're on the same frequency, we're going out, whatever, even if it's for a walk, dude, something will just happen. Someone will hear us talking. Like, the energy attracts, because you're not looking for it, but when you're on a certain frequency, anyone that's on that frequency, they pick it up. It's just the universe. It's how the universe works. But when you're around these people, first of all, you'll never ever be able to attract the other people, because you have so much energy, and that when that energy is going towards that, you're on this frequency, so you'll never attract those type of people. Okay? So the first step is that you need to become content enough with yourself, right? It's so hot here. But you need to become content with yourself, and once you get into that zone, right, of being alone and being in that self-improvement frequency, then the people that need to be in your life will come into your life, okay? It doesn't matter how, it doesn't matter if it's a random occurrence or whatever, but when you're on that zone, the people that are in that zone, they'll respect it, they'll see you, and you'll have that, okay? And I promise you that in the long run, it'll feel so much better. And this is probably one of the hugest problems that I had personally. And that's another thing. Once when you're alone, you also have more time to reflect on things. You never reflect when you're with other people. Every single idea, I think a lot of big ideas come to people's realizations when they're alone. Doesn't matter if you go look at history with religions and stuff like that too. But like Prophet Muhammad himself was meditating in a cave when currents came to him, and the same thing with Jesus as well. He had to go away. I don't know the exact story, but it's the same thing. The Buddha went to the Ranjana River before he came to occurrence for himself, and he came back to the city and he showed everyone what he had came up with. But solitude is not something bad, and it's something that a lot of the time, you kind of are afraid and you don't want to go towards. You don't want to be alone, but I promise you this, that the first step is you have to be alone, okay? And you'll see that you'll feel better every single time. When you hang around these people, you feel bad. I'm telling you, every time you put your head on the pillow, you're like, bro, like, why did I do this? It's like you have the same guilt that like you're on when for example, if you're doing good things the whole day and then you eat, let's say you have a bad meal that you weren't supposed to have, you have that like guilt in your stomach, right? And you get that same guilt, and I know you do. If you say no, then you're lying. You get that same feeling when you hang around them. And that is, just think about that. Why would you be around these people when you have that feeling? It doesn't make sense. That's not what you're supposed to do. So I'm telling you, you need to be okay with being alone for a period, and this is the most important thing. You have to genuinely be in the mindset of, if I would rather be alone for the rest of my life than be around these people. And that's not going to happen. Obviously, you're not going to be alone, but you would rather be alone for the rest of your life, but be on your frequency, than be around people that are on a low vibration frequency, because you know that detriments your soul, your health, the way you think, everything. But like I said, before anything happens externally, it must come within. Before you achieve something outside, it needs to be achieved inside your head, right? And it's the same with your friends. Some people might understand this within sports, within business, whatever, but they don't even apply to like I said, if you want to hang around the right people, you need to be in the right state to be around those people. If you're hanging around those people, like I said, you're never going to get to that level. And it's very, very, this is a very deep, like, I'm not going to get too much into details, but every single time that you are with these people, it detriments your creation, your ability to think, your ability to, like I said, I'm going to give one example. I was walking with one of my friends. He knows who he is. I'm not going to get into more details. And then we were talking about like some sort of like some areas of like business and stuff like that. And then this is also in the vlog, my main vlog that I'm posting for this. This past month, our staff for my agency has tripled, almost. Yeah, tripled. We were at 2 or 3, and then now we're at like 8, right? And this all happened because we were going on a walk, and I was telling him, yeah, like, I'm gonna post something like soon to hire people, but I'm not in a rush. And then he just looked at me, he's like, bro, post it now. And then it kind of put me in like a state of like uncomfortable, like where I felt a little bit uncomfortable to do it, but I'm like, okay, you know what, why not? I posted that, and then now I have 4 times the amount of staff just because of doing that. And it's like, when you're around the right people, stuff like that happens. But I promise you, you can't name the last time that something like that's happened in the past year when you're around these people. These people, they might, and this is another thing, this is something very crucial that is very, very important, right? You might think to yourself, okay, but this person's just loyal. Just because someone hasn't you over, doesn't mean that you have to give them your 100% loyalty. Just because someone is a good person, and in my opinion, a good person, just because they don't like say stuff behind your back, doesn't make them a good person. When someone's mastered themselves and they're actually, in my opinion, a good person, someone that also pushes you. But just because someone hasn't, like, think about how low your standards are, right? This is coming. Your standards are so low that just because someone hasn't said something behind your back, you're friends with them. Just think about that for a sec. Let that sink in. Just because someone hasn't said something behind your back, you automatically give them all of your energy. That should not be the only criteria, right? So yeah, that was just like a small thing, but it's like when you hang around these people, it's like it genuinely does good for your life, right? But you need to get out of one frequency first to get into that. You can't do both. And I'm telling you this with 110% experience. You cannot do both. You can maybe get into that circle, but your frequency is going to be off, and then eventually you'll detach. And I've had that experience personally where I've been in like one state of energy, and then gone out with people that are in another state, and it's like you might connect, but you won't actually connect deep within and you won't become actually friends with them is because the energy you're bringing, it just won't match. And it's the weirdest thing, right? A lot of the people, they're like, that's sometimes why some people don't click. It's like you go out with one of your friends or something, or someone you know, and you're like, bro, everything went well, we were talking, the guy was enjoying his time, I was enjoying my time, but it's like we just didn't work out, and I don't know why. It's because you guys aren't on the same frequency. Now, that being for good and bad, that's up to you to decide, but that's something very key. So before you come into yourself, it's like, oh, and this is the thing, you have to abandon them completely. I'm not saying block them and never talk to them, but if you have 1 ounce of where you're seeing them once every 3 months, once every 6 months, that one split of energy coming into you will ruin your whole frequency. You can only be on one frequency. You can't be on two. You can't be on two radio stations at one. Your body's one radio. You can't be on two. It messes up the signal. You have to be only on one, right? So, not saying never like block them or whatever. That's not what I'm saying, but you have to come to the realization, because I've thought I could do this as well, where I'm like, okay, like I'll just see them once every 6 months. That does not work. It's either the only way that you can do this is if you completely abandon them and it's done. Because that way your old frequency will be forever erased, and then you go into the new chapter. And once it's completely erased, that's when the new frequency comes. That's when you attract new people, like I said, that make you, sometimes in some positions, you make them uncomfortable and they make you uncomfortable. And you need 3 types of people in your life. 1, people like that push you, right? This I'm getting to a point. This is why I'm saying this. Number 1 is people that push you, right? They're on the same level as you, a little bit higher, a little bit lower, but you guys keep going boom, boom, boom. Keep competing with each other, keep pushing each other. That's number 1. Number 2, you need mentors. People that are at least 20 years, in my opinion, older than you, that can give you advice, that have been to some extent where you've reached. It doesn't have to be the same niche, but people that have gotten to a point that you want to get at and can give you that experience. I would personally say 40 plus. If you're around 20, 40, 50 plus, the older usually the better. And then you need to see this person at least once a week. At least once a week, where you guys chat, stuff like that. I'm very, very thankful this year. I've gone over this story in a couple podcasts. I found my mentor, and the way that I found this, I'm not going to get into too much details, but it was just like I said, once you get on that right frequency, I saw a guy driving on the road with a Ferrari. I think it was a Ferrari 812, and I just told him, what do you do for a living? Just like that, we connected. Now, he's one of the greatest people in my life. Like I said, see him once a week. Helped me a lot this year. But, so second type, mentors. And then the third type, mentee, someone that you can teach, because there's 2 layers of learning something. One is learning it yourself, and the other is teaching it to other people. That's the second level. It's the same with sports as well. But you really know something when you can teach it. And that also puts good out into the universe. And when you take someone, for example, in my case, that was working a 9-to-5 job, barely making $1,000 a month, working like 16 hours a month or whatever, and like killing himself just to literally, like at the point where his card's getting declined at Chipotle, and then you get him to make more money than like most parents, or like, you get him to a state of where he can do that on his computer. That's putting good into the universe, okay? And that will come back to you, right? So that's the third type. You need people, again, go over them. Your level, you guys keep pushing each other, higher, lower. Mentor, someone you can mentee. Now, ask this question to yourself. The people that you surround yourself, what category do they fit in? They're not your mentor because they're not older than you. They're your age. You don't teach them anything because they don't also, this is another thing. For someone to be a mentee, they need to be willing to listen, okay? So your friends, if you tell them something, give them some advice, they just laugh. They're not in the state to even process that information. They get uncomfortable. So they're not your mentees. And then they don't push you at all, because every single time that you are with them, you are not even present. You're like, bro, I shouldn't be here. It's like a cheat day. Like when you have a bad cheat day. You literally feel guilt inside your heart when you're around these people, right? So that's 3. So then what are they? If they're not in these three categories, then they're not meant to be around you, brother. I'm telling you this. So you need to abandon them, get out of that old frequency, and once you do that, I'm telling you, your life will change. I hope, like I said, you guys enjoyed this video. This is just like, I don't know if I'm gonna put this in the whole vlog yet, or just it's gonna be a separate thing. But I think I'm probably gonna do it separate, because I think this is something that a lot of people, if one person, like I said, watches this and they benefit from this, then, which I know they will, at least one person, then that's why I upload this content, right? It's not one of my main things anymore. I just like to, whenever I have little pieces of golden information, I like to share it here. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Follow the Instagram, and let's keep it up.